I'm not scared to say nothing.
I know that.
I'll say it.
No, don't say it. No. Don't say it.
They can't AI farm me now.
Right.
If y'all thought the explosive interview between Katt Williams and Shannon Sharpe on Club Shay Shay in 2024 was the tea, then hold on tight to your lace fronts and durags, because what's coming next is even messier. For a moment, it really felt like Diddy was the peak of Hollywood's chaos. Like finally, he was being held accountable after the Cassie Ventura lawsuit and all the shocking revelations that surfaced over the past year. It seemed like the curtain had been pulled back. But we were wrong. What we didn't realize is that the ladder doesn't stop there. It goes higher. And according to whispers, rumors, and sources, if you climb far enough, everything starts to circle back to one name that just won't disappear from people's minds: Jeffrey Epstein. The connections, the allegations, the disturbing patterns. The ties to powerful political figures and Hollywood's elite. The stories about that infamous island eerily reminiscent of those exclusive white parties tied to Diddy. It all starts to feel like pieces of a much bigger, darker puzzle. And then comes another layer. What happens when you connect someone like Clive Davis, a man many believe helped build Diddy, to figures beyond the music industry? To people like Jeffrey and his close associate Ghislaine Maxwell? That's where things start to feel unsettling. Because Jaguar Wright has been saying this for a while now. She's claimed that Clive, Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey, Diddy, and Jay-Z were all connected, moving within the same circles. But back then, nobody wanted to listen.
And Clive Davis put Sean Combs in position. That's what Clive Davis does.
People once brushed her claims off as outrageous, completely ridiculous, even. But now, layer by layer, the truth feels like it's being peeled back, and more people are starting to see things for what they might really be. Sources have begun echoing a narrative that paints Diddy as the visible face, the one in front of the camera, while figures like Jeffrey Epstein and his associates stood quietly in the background, unseen but powerful. At first, it sounded like exaggeration, like street rumors blown out of proportion. But now, that same story is starting to feel a lot less like gossip and a lot more like something people are questioning seriously. According to what's being called word on the streets, and a recent appearance by Katt Williams on The Big Boy Show, he's been opening up and really speaking his mind. The suggestion? That Diddy wasn't necessarily the mastermind, but more like a pawn. A figure placed in position to influence and shape parts of the black entertainment scene, pulling others into his orbit. And that's where things get even more intense. The conversation starts bringing up names, familiar, powerful, and unexpected. People like Usher, Will Smith, and then even younger stars like Justin Bieber, Orlando Brown, Meek Mill, YK Osiris, and Soulja Boy start getting mentioned in these discussions. And when you start digging into how Diddy first connected with Justin, things take an even stranger turn. Reports suggest that the connection happened after Usher reached out, helping introduce Justin into that world and into the industry at a young age. But what stands out, what really lingers, is that even Justin, at just 12 years old, reportedly described parts of that experience as creepy. And that word alone says a lot.
Well, like, 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was with Usher.
Yeah, just hanging out with Usher? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was with him about, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he got he looked in the background of my videos and seen that, like, where I lived and stuff. And kind of tracked me down. Yeah. And it was kind of creepy, actually.
Notice those pauses in his speech, the hesitations, the subtle breaks. Close observers have pointed out that there was something unusual about Justin Bieber's mannerisms in that interview. At the time, most people brushed it off, just nerves, they said. First-time jitters. A young star still adjusting to the spotlight. But now, with more conversations surfacing and perspectives shifting, some believe there may have been more beneath the surface. Some analysts suggest that Justin might have already been dealing with pressures and situations far beyond what people realized back then. It changes how those moments feel when you look back at them now. What once seemed like simple nervousness now carries a weight that's harder to ignore.
Now, if Usher is a procurer, and if Usher knew what was going to happen to any of those young children that he took to the Flavor Freak off, is he a good guy?
According to Jaguar Wright, from that point on, it was already game over for Justin Bieber. She claims he had been taken to what's been referred to as Puffy Flavor Camp, a place where he reportedly spent 48 hours unsupervised with Diddy. Those claims have sparked even more conversation, especially because some say the same kind of introduction allegedly happened years earlier with Usher. He was just 15 when Diddy took him under his wing, with mentions of that same environment, puffy flavor camp, coming up again. Hearing these parallels, it leaves people unsettled. Because when the same story starts repeating itself, same patterns, same names, it stops feeling like coincidence, and starts raising deeper, more uncomfortable questions.
Puffy Flavor Camp.
There you go.
To learn
Flavor Camp.
Yeah,
Flavor
that's
Camp.
what it was called. And you're going to go to Puff Daddy's. He's going
In the 90s, do you understand what that's like?
Yes.
And according to Jaguar Wright, a few years later, Usher didn't just remain under the influence of Diddy, she claims he eventually became a recruiter for him. That claim adds another layer to the story, one that feels even heavier. Because it suggests a cycle where those once brought in are later set to bring others along.
Because that's what pedophiles do. They get victims, and then once they get to a certain age and they get too old for them to enjoy them, they send them out to go get.
With Orlando Brown, people claim it followed that same rinse and repeat pattern. He was a young actor, just starting out, and Diddy allegedly took an interest in him. And from there, everything unfolded in ways that many now look back on with questions. Because when you hear similar stories told again and again, it stops sounding random and starts feeling like a pattern that people are trying to make sense of.
Yo, Diddy, you gave me the oosh-gosh goosh-mash. You gave me the oosh-gosh muaf, the smoosh-mash. Diddy. Yeah, son.
Yo, Diddy, you changed me, you had an impact on me. Those words, as distorted and emotional as they sounded, left people confused, even uneasy. And according to what's being said, similar stories have been linked to names like Meek Mill, YK Osiris, and Bryce Gray. The pattern being described? The same cycle, over and over again. Different faces, but allegedly the same method.
Son, you trying to enjoy this life. Man, you doing it, man. You deserve it, Daddy. You putting in that work. Proud of you. I love you.
And when you really go down that rabbit hole, when you start connecting all these names, all these stories, one unsettling pattern begins to stand out. The common thread? It's not just the claims of exploitation, it's what comes after. Careers that once soared suddenly hit a wall. The hit songs stop. The creativity fades. Global fame slowly gets replaced by headlines, legal troubles, controversy, struggles that play out in public. Then comes the withdrawal, the isolation, the quiet battles people don't always see. And that's what Terrence Howard spoke about during his interview with Patrick Bet-David. He described his own encounter with Diddy, how the invitations came repeatedly, over months, until he finally accepted. But according to Terrence, what he walked into wasn't what he expected. He believed the interest wasn't really about learning or growth, but something deeper, something that didn't sit right with him. That experience led Terrence to speak on something he called a man card, his way of describing a line a person shouldn't cross. In his words, once that line is crossed, something changes. Something personal, something internal, that can't easily be taken back. And the way he shared it? You could feel it, this wasn't just a story. It was a warning.
There's a lot of things that people do that end up sitting and they can't get over it. And they got to keep getting high, hoping to get it out of their head. You know, but when you lose your man card, that's the only thing I can think of. You lose your damn man card.
What is that? What do you mean by that?
You give up your ability, your right to being a man. A man don't take it, a man gives it.
After stepping away from the spotlight for a while, Katt Williams is reportedly making his return, but this time, the approach feels different. Not loud. Not explosive. More controlled. Instead of going head-on at the industry like before, Katt now seems to be moving more quietly, peeling back layers, hinting at connections, and letting people read between the lines. And at the center of those conversations? Familiar names like Diddy, once seen as a major power player, now being discussed alongside darker, more controversial figures like Jeffrey Epstein. And then there's Harvey Weinstein, a name that keeps surfacing as a key link in these discussions. Reports over the years have described how Jeffrey allegedly used his connections with Harvey to gain trust, sometimes telling young women he could introduce them to powerful people in Hollywood and help launch their careers. One accuser, Chantel Davies, has publicly claimed that Jeffrey introduced her to Harvey, which eventually led to an audition opportunity tied to one of his companies. Stories like that add weight to the conversations. Because when names like Jeffrey, Harvey, and Diddy keep appearing within the same elite social circles alongside figures like Jay-Z, people begin to question whether it's all just coincidence or something more connected. The patterns people talk about, the overlap in influence, power, and allegations have led many to take a closer look at how these circles operate behind closed doors. And now, those connections are being discussed more openly than ever. Layer by layer, more stories are coming out. More voices are being heard. And whether it all leads somewhere concrete or remains a collection of claims and perspectives, people are paying attention. So what do you think about all of this? Drop your thoughts below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out the next video. Because this story? It might just get even messier.